I can safely say this was not the comeback to YouTube that I was expecting. So, for a while now, I've been planning to sort of do this chronic illness diaries to sort of show my life as a university student and president of student society while battling mental and physical conditions. I am still struggling to find like a starting point. I created and deleted a lot of footage like throughout the months. I think I started in like April or whatever with doing this. So, I'm the biggest procrastinator that you'll find basically. I would also love to do like gaming videos. Sadly, I use an ADS for my Sims bags, which is not possible anymore. So, and with the entire buyout, I don't think I want to make Sims content, which sucks because as a child, I made content on YouTube and that was Sims content. So it's besides Minecraft, the first game that I played, and Final Fantasy X, but that's another question. And it's literally been my dream to like sort of make a legacy series following through centuries. Like I love watching royalty legacy gameplay, especially if it's like with a medieval mod or whatever. I also love playing Sims Medieval, but it doesn't have that free roaming option that The Sims has. It's like very quest based, which isn't nice, but at the same time, I, you know, want more like Sims 4 or Sims 3 content with that. But anyway, so, I've wanted a gaming channel and talking about my chronic illness, making sort of like vlog diaries, and also making book reviews and talking about books and talking about Formula One and motorsport because I love endurance racing and the formulas like Formula One, Two, Three, Formula E, the electronic one as well. I love the WEC, World Endurance Racing. I would love to get into IndyCar and just other categories. And I'm just filled with opinions and stuff that I want to talk about. I'm also like writing a fan fiction and writing my own novel. So I also love to talk about writing, like maybe record a writing blog, and all of these things are stuff that I want to do, which is why I've had such trouble making content because I know like YouTube, but also other social media platforms are like very niche based. Like you build your platform on the specific niche and then create your name in it. And with like the broad variety of things that I love, it's impossible to, you know, pick a niche. Even now, like on TikTok, I am trying to consistently post, which isn't really happening, but I'm trying. And it's been mostly chronic illness now because of what I'm gonna get into later. But it's all over the place. It doesn't have like a solid niche subject. Same with my Instagram. I'm not really on my Instagram, I'm gonna be honest. Well, not on my public one. I should maybe try to post more on it, but I just don't really know what to post it because usually I post something on my private Instagram and I'm like, oh my god, this would be great content on my public one. But most of my followers on my public Instagram, where I want to do content creating, are also my friends, so I don't want to bother them with like double posting stuff. Anyway, so it has been like I think almost a year struggle with what content I want to create. Then I bought this microphone. I was like, this is gonna be the shit. It's not good quality. I have no idea how this video is gonna turn out, but it's supposed to like clip onto your t-shirt, but if I do that, you won't be able to hear me well, so I just put it like really close to my mouth to have more of that like, my crisp voice. if you know what I mean, and not just have me like muffled as if I'm very far away. The reason I started this video and I'm like, fuck it, this is the base point where I'm going to start with my YouTube channel, and I'll see what else comes forward. So I've been really focused on content creating from more of a marketing and like, you know, getting successful perspective, which isn't all that weird considering I'm a communication science student. So I see like a lot of PR and advertisement and all that stuff, and how to communicate properly, basically. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I also have like sociology, political science, but I can't talk, political science, and yeah, courses like strategic communication, media psychology, media economics. Like, if you want to make a movie, how do you get funding? Um, how do you get paid? Like, how do you make money? All that stuff. How do you hire people? Like, those are things that I'm learning. And so I've been really trying to approach this from the same perspective to kind of also, when I'm getting into the workforce, be like, besides my studies, I'm also doing content creating on the side. Because my dream job is to be in PR or marketing in a motorsport team. And honestly, what better curriculum vitae can you have than saying, I have a successful content platform of my own? Like, I get a lot of views, likes, followers. It's an instant hire, you know? So I've been really trying to approach it from that perspective. And I kind of lost track of the fact that I want to do this because I want to do this. I enjoy this. I enjoy talking. I enjoy meeting people online, like exchanging opinions. And like as a child when making videos, I couldn't care less whether I was famous or not and whether it would look good for future jobs. So I'm really stepping back from that perspective and doing more like I'll see what comes. I'm just doing what I love. Which brings me to the reason that I started this video, and it's still really hard for me to talk about. So as I said, I tried and failed to make these sort of like chronic illness diaries. I might try again. I'm not sure whether people are interested in seeing that, like sort of day to day life and how I cope with it and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, to have like a brief sort of history of what is wrong with me. I like my first diagnosis, like they're all mental. My computer just went out. Give me a second. Where's my background light? Thank you. And then, like, my first diagnosis was C. No, it's not. It was not. Yeah. My first diagnosis was anxiety and depression, which I think is a very solid first diagnosis to get. I think I got it at around like 14, maybe 15. And like, I was really struggling with it. And I had a bad therapist who told me, like, when I said, like, oh my god, being in a classroom gives me panic attacks, and I really can't handle the social aspect of school, and it's stressing me out. And I got the advice to do homeschooling. Like, aren't you supposed to help me overcome my anxiety instead of feeding into it? But anyway, I have a better therapist now, thank God. And eventually I got diagnosed with CPTSD, and I started, what's it called? EMDR, which honestly has been a really big help for me, but I can see why it's not for everyone. It is very rough, and you already need to be stable to be able to do EMDR. Like, if you're in a bad mental health space and stuff, don't do it because it will test your limits. You will become worse. You will want to go back to your bad coping mechanisms, and you'll have to remind yourself to, do the good coping mechanisms, what you learned in therapy. And I was able to do it, but it was bad. Yeah. And that was it for a while. And then, I got really bad periods. At first, I didn't really look into it much until it got really, really bad. And I was passing out. And I was in intense pain. Like, no medication was helping at all. I was bleeding so much. I was passing out. It was bad. And then, I went to do a gynecologist and I found out I had an ovarian cyst. And he told me to get on the pill and be done with it. Just go away. Which is what I did. Because at that point, where are we in the timeline? I was 18. And I was just like, okay, if you say so, I believe you. Which isn't all that, like, unfair, but my gynecologist was like an old dude that really needed to retire, but whatever. I also got diagnosed with autism then. Yippee! My god, what was that? Anyway, so I got my autism diagnosis also at 18, and then when I turned 19, I was starting to like look more into stuff and like, I went to a psychiatrist and I got diagnosed with ADHD. So now I take meds for it and I can focus. I can be in class without like completely zoning out. No, that's a lie. I do still zone out sometimes. It depends on the lecturer. But, I can focus and get tasks done and my head is quiet. So that has been a big relief. I'm also on antidepressants now for the EMDR, and it's also like been a game changer for me. So we're at 19. No, I'm not still 19. I'm 20. Anyway, we're still at 19. I got my ADHD diagnosis, and I also started looking more into like whatever was going on with me with my periods because even on birth control, it was getting worse and worse and worse, and suddenly yet again, I was skipping class to stay in bed because of the pain and meds weren't working. And I was like, what is going on? So I went to this same gynecologist and I told him it. And I told him I'm suspecting endometriosis. I meet all of the criteria, and ever since I started researching it, I saw that people with autism and ADHD are more likely to get it. Same with like other comorbidities. And I was like, I might have it considering I have autism and ADHD. And he goes, that's not true because not everyone with autism has it. So what if something just fell off my wall? Okay. So whatever you have, it's not that, it's not because you have autism that you have endometriosis. Not at all what I said. But okay, whatever, dude. And I kept fighting him on it because he wouldn't even, like, not study me. What is the word? Um, he wouldn't even want to try and diagnose me. And eventually, after a lot of back and forth, he scheduled laparoscopic surgery. Spoiler alert, it was negative. They didn't find anything. I mean, they did find some adhesions, like really close to my left ovary, where the cyst was and where I have the most pain on my left side. That's like totally unrelated. They didn't do a biopsy, that's like unrelated. And when I saw that report, I was like, what kind of shitty gynecologists are you guys? So I went to another one and I told her the entire story. Obviously, I can't have another laparoscopic surgery because it was way too soon. Like, even now, it has been like half a year. I can't have another one. But it can be endometriosis. We don't know. Who knows? I changed my pill and I need to like continue taking it. So I before I had like the stop week, and now I don't do the stop week because that was worsening my symptoms. I got diagnosed with PMDD, always a party to have, and I was also like considering, well, I was having like a lot of joint pain for a while. And then when I started thinking back about it, like I have been having it for the entirety of my life, literally. And I just never really looked much into it. I thought I was just like overreacting because I have also I've always been told that I am overly sensitive to pain and I'm always complaining about pain, so I learned to keep quiet when I'm in pain, which now is biting me my ass. So I started to realize I've been in joint pain my entire life. Maybe I should look into it. So I started looking into it. And the two explanations that I eventually narrowed down were fibromyalgia or hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And I thought it has to be fibromyalgia. I have CPTSD, it's like very logical diagnosis, and like I'm not flexible at all, you know? I used to do ballet and I was like stiff as a board. I was also filled with anxiety and I did not like ballet at all. So, I was like the least flexible kid. No, not the least. Like in the middle of the pack, but I was not hypermobile. And then I went to the doctor and I explained everything. And she was like, "Stretch your arms for me." "Yeah, you're hypermobile." "What?" Like, I had to stretch my arms like this. And yeah, because can I don't know. I can't really show it. But like it overstretches a little bit. Same with my knee that also overstretches. I can, do my thumb to my palm, all that stuff. So she told me that I was hypermobile, and I was like, T. So obviously I wanted to go further into that, but when I told her I'm suspecting Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, she was like, "What the actual fuck is that?" So obviously she couldn't diagnose it. And so I went to the rheumatologist. At the same time, I was also going to like stomach and intestines and all that stuff specialist to see whether I have IBS because I don't need to explain why I was thinking that. I got tested for a lot of stuff. Apparently, I'm lactose intolerant, but I also get symptoms when I eat something without lactose. So we're gonna see how that continues because that stuff is still going on. Because at this point, I turned 20 already. Yeah, because I saw the rheumatologist a month and a half ago, literally. And so I went to the rheumatologist, and she was like, "You think you have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? All right then." And started asking about my family, and I was like, "Yeah, my dad, he has osteoarthritis in his knee, like end stage, but he's not doing anything about it because that's my dad. Um, and his knee and also like his shoulder often just dislocates, and then he just pops back and off he goes. And he's also like very mobile and all that stuff. My grandfather, he had a lot of conditions, like in his mouth, his toes were like this. I have the same condition, but it's way less than my grandfather. And he was also like extremely hypermobile, but like, he also had arthritis over like his entire body. And so I told her about like that part of my family history and stuff. Also, like, that was my dad's side of the family. On my mom's side of the family, my great grandfather was a snake person in the circus. You know, like the people who can like contort themselves in like impossible shapes. That was my great grandfather on my mom's side. So on both sides of the family, I had people with extreme hypermobility and with joint pain and all sorts of comorbidities with it. And then she, had me do like the Baton scale, and I scored a 2 out of 9. A 2. I got told that I wasn't hypermobile, that it was in my head, and some people are just more sensitive to joint pain. Shouldn't look more into it. I was extremely disappointed, and I felt let down because there was this voice in my head telling me, like, I had done so much research and collected, like, so much of symptoms, I'd say. Like, I had this entire node where I described my own symptoms, like, what can I remember of, like, how long I was having them, or, like, are they related to medicine that I'm taking or used to take? Like, I wrote it all down. I made an analysis. I'm autistic. If I can't put it in a spreadsheet, I don't want it. So yeah, I went like very objectively and analytically with my symptoms, and I was just like waved off, and it pissed me off. But at the same time, I was like, maybe I should start trusting professionals and that they're right, and I just have health anxiety and I need to let it go. So I told myself I just have a lot of health anxiety. Some things just don't have an answer. Period. A week afterwards, I was in the ER. I couldn't walk anymore. And honestly, my student society made fun of me. Is still making fun of me. They're like, one of these days, you're just gonna join an activity while like in a hospital bed. Like, hey guys, I'm gonna die tomorrow, but like I couldn't miss it. Like that's kind of the reputation that I have right now in the society because we were supposed to promote our society to new members. You know, go into the classes of the first years and be like, hey, by the way, join us. We're fun. And I was the only person available at that time. But I, like, after walking to my class, I collapsed in pain. I was crying. I couldn't walk. So I texted him, can anyone else take over for me? Because it is not ideal for me to go right now. And everyone was like, I'm sorry. I have this, I have this, I have that. So I was like, okay, like, if I have to, I can go. But I think I have, like, dislocated my hip or, like, maybe a subluxation in my hip that I can't walk anymore. It's extremely painful, and I really want to go to the ER because I think it's a dislocation. But if no one else can like promote, I'll just go. I'll lean against the desk and then I'll go to the ER. And they were all like, "What the actual fuck? Our society is not more important than your health." Anyway, so I didn't promote and I went to the ER. I was there for quite a while, but they thought I had this like infection. I don't remember the name, but they thought I had like this sort of infection in my hip or whatever. So, they were doing photos and an echo and they couldn't find anything. And eventually, after being like there for almost a day, they were like, ah, we can't find anything. You feel what you feel though, You're in pain. We're not saying you're not. You're in pain. But we can't find anything, so we're not sure anything's wrong with you. But take these painkillers and go home, okay? And we'll write a note so you don't have to go to school. As if that was the reason I was there. Hello. Like, my classes don't have attendance. I don't need to go to my classes. Why would I go to the ER faking something to get a note. But they treated me like that was the case. And they gave me a follow-up appointment with an ortho orthopediatric. Is that the name? Like, the people that specialize in joints, and bones and stuff. I think, yeah, like a follow-up appointment with that doctor, the ortho. I'm gonna call it that. And they told me, like, if the pain goes away, you can just cancel it. And I mean, the pain was going away, but I was also on heavy painkillers, and I was like, I can't accept the fact that they can't find anything. That just nothing is wrong with me. So I went to that follow-up appointment, just like readying myself for disappointment. And it wasn't. Like, weirdly enough, I had a good doctor, which, shouldn't be so surprising. Like, what is wrong with our healthcare that I'm surprised that I actually got help instead of being told that I'm overreacting? Well, not being told, but like the side eye, of like, we're gonna try and treat you, but we don't think anything is wrong with you, Sweeney. Those type of doctors. And he told me, I think you have hip dysplasia. Like, from birth, that my hips have been wrong. I was shocked. I'm like, excuse you? He wasn't sure because he specializes in shoulders. I don't know why they gave me an appointment with that dude when he specializes in shoulders. But he was like, yeah, I'm not sure, but I think so. I think you have like a very subtle hip dysplasia, but we're gonna take some extra photos and I'm gonna send you to like the hip specialist. He specializes in young adult hips and he'll help you along. I was like, okay, sure. So I get the photos taken, and afterwards I meet with the hip specialist. At this point, I am so over it. I am still in pain. I still have a lot of periods that I can't walk anymore. I've had to cancel a lot of things, and I still felt like I was overreacting, like I was just being dramatic. And then he told me that you know, what is the term in English? Some sort of like I have a bit of wear and tear on my bones, which at 20-year-old is extremely early to have. And he also said it like it's a very rare case, but we think like you have hypermobile hips, as we can see on the photos. Your hip is hypermobile and it can move in ways that it's not supposed to, and it caused wear and tear on your bones. I told him about the rheumatologist appointment, where I got told I did not have Ehlers-Danlos and I scored a 2 out of 9. And he literally told me that those diagnostic criteria was way too strict and not really inclusive, as in a lot of people with Ehlers-Danlos did not make that criteria. Which did make me feel a bit better about myself, but at the same time, I won't be able to get an official diagnosis. According to the criteria, I am not hypermobile. According to my body, I'm extremely hypermobile because I have bone damage from being hypermobile. Do you know how insane that is? And um, when I found that out, I was mad at the rheumatologist. And now I'm even more mad because last week I had a CT scan with, contrast fluid, which hurts like a bitch, by the way, because they like injected it because it's my left hip, like in my groin area. That was like one of the most painful experiences I had in my life. And so they were trying to see if I had any cartilage damage, but like the specialist had reassured me that just because I have bone damage doesn't mean my cartilage is per se damaged, we don't know. My cartilage is completely gone. I have severe end stage osteoarthritis in my hip. I am 20. I'm not even 20 and a half. It's not even been half a year since I turned 20, and I have end stage arthritis. I'm gonna need a new hip. I don't know when. I'm gonna see next week what the doctor is going to say. But yeah, I'm really mad at the rheumatologist for telling me that I'm not hypermobile, that some people are just more sensitive to pain. And then finding out that my body is completely fucked. I will never be able to walk normal anymore. Um, the entire future I envisioned for myself is gone. Like, I told you, I used to dance ballet, and then afterwards I switched to hip hop, and then I stopped. And for years, I've had in my mind that I was gonna pick up hip hop or modern dance again, and I'll never be able to do that. And so many things that I suddenly have to accept that will never be in the cards for me anymore. It's insane. It's insane. I've also had a group project, and I haven't done a lot for a group project because literally 3 weeks ago, I found out there was wear and tear on my bones. Last week, I found out that I have end stage osteoarthritis. So it has been a difficult month for me. But I also told the group members that this is going on. And this is the reason that I haven't really done much because I've had a lot of trouble mentally accepting this. Yeah. Sorry. And I'm devastated. I don't know what to do. But also, it gave me the push to finally make a YouTube video because I've been trying to search online for anyone with my experience, and it's been so hard to find someone around my age with end stage osteoarthritis. Like, whenever I search for things, like, young people with it are like 30 or 40. They aren't in college, they didn't just graduate high school. Or like maybe they did, but then they did like a really intense sport. And I stopped dancing when I was 12. I haven't picked up a sport since I was 12. The only sporting I do is walking and biking everywhere. That's it. I have no reason for my hip to be this bad. None. And when I realized I can't find people in my situation, I want to be that person then. Like, if now or in the future there's someone going through the same thing as me, that they stumble across my account, across my videos, and they can find themselves in what I'm going through, and they know they're not alone, they're not this abnormal case, which I'm kind of feeling like right now. But yeah, and I started this video with, I stopped trying to think this as a way of making like job opportunities or making money or whatever, and now I'm really just, I want to help people going through the same thing as me. I want them to know they're not alone, and I am gonna try and make the chronic illness diaries maybe with my journey, with my hip and my other conditions, and university life, and my social life and all that stuff as well, to you know, if you're going through the same thing, that you can see your life is not over. I mean, I hope with the diaries that I can show you guys that I'm still doing great in university, that I still have a social life, that I'm still part of my student society as a leading role, or like not necessarily as president, but maybe as treasurer or whatever, or PR. And that I'm still doing all those things that I love despite everything that I have. Yeah, that's my God. As you can see, like every time I talk about it, I start crying. It's I haven't accepted it yet. I know I'll have to, but I haven't yet. I can't. It's anyway. This was sort of introduction explanation. I have no idea what this video is, but I still hope you enjoyed it. I hope. I mean, if you're in the same boat as me, that I'll give you a bit of comfort, or at least make you realize you're not alone. If you're not in the same boat as me, I want to show what it's like living with an invisible illness, because you can't really see that all that stuff is happening to me, besides, the obvious limp that I have now. But I want you to know that it, illness doesn't really present itself in one way or another. Like, I'm disabled. And would you have known that? Just looking at me, would you have known that I'm like quite disabled actually? That I will never be able to live a normal life? So I kind of want to shed a light on that as well. It's not going to be my only content though. I'm gonna step away from the almost crying part. The fact that I am chronically ill isn't going to be my only content. Again, I do really want to post gaming videos and reading vlogs and book reviews and stuff like right now. I finally saw the Deadly Claws. It is a graphic novel. It's the first graphic novel that I'm reading. And I watched the show and I loved it, which is why I started buying the comics. And maybe I'll make a video about that or whatever. So it's not all going to be like this heavy, tragic stuff. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I'll see you in the next videos I post.